Hello, from Mauricio. Come things to invest. We'll talk about investing, finance, and professional development. For today's items only, the investment we're going to talk today will be Ethereum ETH. This is my second posting as of today. Respect to recording time of 2:21 p.m. on the Eastern Time. The Ethereum coin trading $4,780, up about 3.54% so far. Respect to the overall crypto market, it's mega green today. Besides Shiba Inu, seems like it's still normalizing from these consecutive buying days that we've been experiencing so far, right? Surging all-time high for basically the last one whole week, right? If you really look at the technical front and the momentum that we've been capturing so far. And on the crypto front and the equity side, I would say on the equity side of the house is leaning more toward the upside. We definitely have some volatility earlier today with respect to a relatively more like a market index stock like Tesla. As we heard from Elon Musk on the polling system, came out obviously was 57.6% of voting yes on his proposition of selling basically 10% holding of Tesla stocks at a worth of about $25 billion in total. And that's subsequently triggered some sell-off at the moment right now. We're up down about 3.25%. However, we're down close to about 6.5% earlier this morning around like 10 a.m. on the Eastern Time, and subsequently normalized as people buying in the dips, if you may, right? So with respect to the overall crypto market, why are we surging today, right? There are multiple catalysts. One is more of a speculative one, right? Elon Musk, the polling system said that, so now it's confirmed that he's going to be selling or is selling 10% of holding in Tesla stocks. But there's been a lot of speculations, right, in the comments section and also in other pseudo forums depicting that he might potentially shift his holding the $25 billion to be buying Bitcoin, right? And with that affectation, subsequently drive some buying pressure in Bitcoin, which is the reason why we're seeing that we're testing or reaching to near all-time high all over again, trading at the $66,000 mark, up about 4.28%. But we also know that Elon Musk also holds Ethereum and Dogecoin as well, right? So those are all prominently surging as well. While Cardano is surging because of the drag effects that also got picked up, and the other altcoins that are not prominently, dragged by Elon Musk or with respect to their specific catalysts, are just kind of trading on a sideways fashion, right? Still close to at north of 2%, while ALGORAND's up about 9.07% at the moment right now, reaching above the $2 mark, which is something that we appreciate. Is something that seems like on the technical front coming true, right? So we'll dive into the technicals in a bit, right? So that's the first reason, which is a more of a speculative one, but it's still a relatively sizable one in a volume and a market perspective. And the second one is another mega whale news. It's coming from specifically pointing towards Bitcoin Ethereum. And it's basically following a recent news that the Australian regulators have approved a spot ETF using Bitcoin Ethereum. Okay, so the Australian Security and Investment Commission, the ASIC, kind of rhyme with the sneaker company, right? ASIC, I think it's the same spelling but without the S. Approved spot exchange traded funds, ETFs, right, in Bitcoin Ethereum. And ASICs also provide the best practice guideline and requirement to the user. So they have been thinking through this for quite some time now on the regulatory side. And the approval will basically allow investors in Australia to gain direct exposures to the underlying asset price through funds that trade on the Australian exchange, security exchange. So obviously, with this affectation, drive huge surge across the market, specifically with Bitcoin and Ethereum leading the effort, and that subsequently triggered the correlation effect across the whole crypto market. Besides Shiba Inu, which, as we know, despite such bullish news, we're still selling off. It means that the technical is overpowering the buying pressure because of the fact that public investors and retail investors know that we are surging a little bit too overreaching right? So we'll dive into the technicals to see where Shiba Inu going to end up going to in a technical front. So that's really the two main catalysts on driving the surging pressure today. And then also other news that I've been picking up on Bazinga. I would say Bazinga has been just killing it today with like 7 consecutive news. And we've talked about like 4 this morning. So with respect to the last, I would say 1 hour so far, they have pumped up like 3 news. So the first one is talk about why Bitcoin and Ethereum are rising today, which is something we have already talked about with respect to the key catalyst on one again, right? Just to recap the speculative, Elon Musk proposition on the $25 billion holding of cash that he's probably going to be used to pay tax, right? Because he does have a huge tax that is expected to be paying in the upcoming tax season for 2022, starting in April, obviously, end of April, obviously. But the other one is really because of the Australian ETF news, right? So the next one's a Bazinga again, 57 minutes ago, talk about Ethereum breaks new all-time high, right? And I think the spelling is incorrect. They spell BRAKES. I think that's a misspell. And as I read into it, it wasn't really like an oxymoron or like play with words, if you may. So I think they clearly just spelled the title incorrect. Ethereum breaks new all-time high. It doesn't quite make any sense. So yeah, this is something we're seeing prominently in front of us right now. We are trying to get to the 4,800, which we got to by $3 away today at 4,797.45. And we're basically trying to keep surging, which we have been already surging for basically a month and 2 weeks so far. And it seems like it's still going on, right? So congratulations to all the ones that were buying when the RSI was depleted below 35, right? When I was saying that we should be buying at the 2,750, buying around like the 3,150, and that's exactly what's going on right now. Right now we are on the opposite side of the coin, so holding would be the best logical solutions for us to do so right now. And that's pretty much on the news front. I would say one is something we have been talking about, but the Australian news is definitely substantive, right? So with respect to the technical front, let's just dive right into it, shall we? With respect to Ethereum, the $4,775, up about 3.40%. We are trading at 70.29 out of 70, so we know what that means. We're still overbought. We have no signs of reversal yet. We're still curving up, right? Despite how many times we've tried to cross down. But it seems like we are staying on top, staying above, with less and less people incentivized to sell, again, mainly on the retail side, and the whales are just basically on the sideline watching, right? So technically, right now we are in a new territory, so there is no prior level of substantiveness before we got here today. So if we think that we're going to keep leaping up, let's say the RSI is going to scream all the way to 92 out of 70, that means technically we will have some more room to run up to, right? To be above 5,000 and then keep leaping up to the next level, 6,000, right? So we are in a good territory in terms of, it's definitely good to see your balance to be surging up on a daily basis. But in terms, is it the right opportune time for you to incur additional risk? I would say no, because of the fact that I think, whatever goes up really, really fast comes down just as fast, right? Ultimately, the line do not just go up in one shot. We're not in a rocket, right? Even rocket ships have to fight gravity, that it comes down back to Earth somehow, or it explodes, right? So that's not something we would appreciate for our financial assets, especially something that is tied to your life savings, right? So I think right now it's best to just hold on and watch your money grow, which is always great, right? We'll just watch yourself, your net worth growing every single day, right? But as we scream above to like the above $92 out of 70 level, it might be wise for you to take some profit, right? Maybe take just like 40% off the profit that you're making, not 40% of your holding, but 40% of your profit off the table, and then wait for it to come back down as we cool down a little bit, right? Because 40% is like kind of a ratio where you are thinking long term because you're still 60% hedged in, But 40% guarantees you that profit taken, right? You keep that in your pocket without getting like a huge tax hit, right? Which is something I don't really like. I pay like crazy tax last year. I think I paid like $75,000 in tax last year, which is it's not the most fun thing to do. You know what I'm trying to say? So something to be mindful of, right? So Bitcoin right now, we're still surging up because of the news that we just talked about. We are forming a golden cross slowly. You could see that we're fusing together. We are still at the 63, 64 out of 70 right now and breaking all-time high. So technically, with this cup and handle, we are going to see more surging pressure coming. And with this golden cross, it means that we're going to keep surging. So Bitcoin is very bullish right now. And I think the reversal is definitely in here. On the Australian ETF news that confirmed it and reversed the bearish momentum that we were seeing so far. So I think this was basically like a downward wedge with a confirmation of a surge. So I think Bitcoin might have some more room to run up to, knowing the fact that we are trying to break the all-time high all over again. And as we break that, I think the next level is going to be obviously 70K, right? Which is going to be the next level. But right now we're in new territory, so I cannot predict what's going to happen. Like what's the next surge? It's really ultimately dependent on a popularity contest, right? How many investors are going to be incentivized to pump in Bitcoin, and that will translate into more surging pressure, right? So Dogecoin right now, it's forming a comparable dynamics in terms of Bitcoin. We're forming a curvature upward. We're still at the 60 out of 70. So I think ideally having some more room to run up to wouldn't be surprising to me. And I think we got to almost 30 cents today. So right now we're just basically struggling to get above that again. But as we form that golden cross, we should technically leap up and confirm to go above 30 cents. And I think as we get to 30 cents, the next level will be ideally at the 32. And you could see that we try to get to 34, but we got canceled out because of the lack of sustainability above. So Dogecoin is bullish, but I would just hold and watch on the sideline because the better level would be when we were trading at below the 22 cents or all the way to the 20 cents from here, right? Cardano is bullish, as again, right? It's something that is coming true. We formed that golden cross. We still have some room to run up to. So ideally, going up all the way to 215, which is a consolidation level. But if we have even more bullish level, I think going to the 240 would be the peak of the level that we could technically leap up to. Or if there's more buying pressure, I think the max will go to probably 260 per the technical right now. And I think the surge will be quite beautiful, actually, because it sounds like a long, elongated downward wedge. And as we fuse it together even further and further, we should technically leap up as the next catalyst approaches. And now Solana is on the opposite side of the spectrum. We're selling off right now because we are we try to get to 260, but we couldn't get to 260 because that's a flat number, right? 260, 250, 240. So right now is really dependent on the public investors. Are they willing to buy at this current level? And I think most public investors are not, and that's why we're selling off right now. Eventually, they'll run out of patience, and then we could start selling off even further. So right now, the momentum is showing some preliminary weakness with the 67 out of 70, so you know what that means. So we're close to being overbought. So ideally, coming back down, wait for it to cool back down to at least 137 to 113 to 93. To 66 would be the next logical levels for us to even think about buying yet. XRP right now attempting to go to 130, which makes sense. We got to 130, but we got canceled out. That's why we're coming back down to the next comfort level, 125, which technically is still like a flat number, right? So, and we basically matching with this level that we have formed many times. So if we don't sustain above to get to 130, we're going to come back to 120. And as we go to 120, we break 120, go back to 110. So right now it's still bullish despite being overbought. So I think maybe trying again to go to 130. But if that get canceled out, we're gonna sell back down. So I'll wait until we come back down to more of a optimal level to dollar cost average. Polkadot right now is being sustained by the drag effect across the market. We're still at the 70 out of 70, so you know what that means. So ideally, wait for it to come back to 31 to 25 would be much more logical to dollar cost average at. Algorand is surging above $2. So as we broke that, we formed that golden cross. We go up. Right now with 62 out of 70. So you could see that we got canceled so many times at the 210 level. And seems like that's where we're going, but it seems like it's lack of sustainability in terms of the momentum. So not the most ideal setup, right? Because it got canceled out so many times that it means that people are not really bullish at that above 210 level. So I think ideally wait for it to come back to 182, wait for it to come back to 160 to 150, still the level that I would technically buy in. Shiba Inu is very bearish, like I said. There's no signs of reversal yet, so more sell-off is coming. I think it's logical because I think ideally coming back to 2794, ideally coming back to 900 would be much more logical levels. In respect to risk management level dollar cost average at, these are the levels as we deplete back to the below 35 out of 70 on the RSI scale, or somewhere around like the low 30-ish, right? And again, this is not the perfect level, and I'm not predicting that we'll go to these levels, but these are just the levels that I would personally feel comfortable when we get to these type of risk profiles, right? Right now, the risk is not really in your favor in terms of the profitability that you could get to, or the margin of profitability that you could potentially get to at the current level, right? So the odds are not in the most favorable setup, and I don't want to set myself up for failure by incurring risk at the current moment, right? Like I could technically buy and wait until 5-10 years from now, but if we know that we're overbought right now, wouldn't it make more logical sense for us to deplete further back down first? And it always happens. It always oscillates, so it's never gonna just go one straight line. But it seems like for the last 45 days so far, we've been surging up relatively, in a healthy manner. So depleting back to a normal level and at the preliminary golden cross level would be the ideal frame of levels that I would be dollar cost averaging at, right? These are levels that I've identified for the respective coins here, right? So hopefully this is helpful. Really appreciate you for dropping by on this Monday again. I have an event going to later today, so I'm actually going to be out in the city all over again. I've been in the city for the last 3 days already. But I look forward to the event, and I'll let you guys how that goes. But really appreciate you, and stay tuned for the club. Take care.